Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever stopped to think about how computers, the systems behind so much stuff now actually make decisions? Like filtering job applications or even just suggesting what you watch next online? It's all driven by algorithms.
All right. Algorithms.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're just sets of instructions, like complex rules a computer follows. But here's the thing. They're powerful, but not always. Neutral.
But not neutral. How so?
Well, sometimes these instructions, these algorithms, they can end up being unfair, discriminatory even. That's what we mean by algorithmic bias.
Algorithmic bias. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit technical, but really just means the system's making unfair choices.
Pretty much. You've got to remember, these algorithms learn. They learn from data, from the examples we feed them.
Right.
And if those examples, that data, if it's already skewed or, incomplete,
then the algorithm just learns the same skewed patterns, including any unfairness that was already there.
Exactly. It's less like following a perfect recipe step by step and maybe more like learning by watching someone cook. If the person they're watching has some bad habits or only uses certain ingredients,
The learner picks those up too. Okay, I get it. Do we, see this happening in the real world?
oh, definitely. Think about, say, a school program. Maybe they use an algorithm to find students for a special gifted program. Now, if that algorithm mostly learned from data about kids in just one neighborhood or kids who ace a certain type of test,
It might completely miss really bright kids from other places or kids who learn differently.
precisely. The algorithm isn't trying to be unfair, but its limited training data means it ends up excluding people.
Wow. And you mentioned why this happens. It's often not on purpose.
Usually not, no. It's often a direct result of using historical data that reflects past human decisions.
Which might have been unfair themselves.
Exactly. Take a hiring algorithm. Imagine it's trained on decades of who got hired in the past. If, historically, maybe women or certain minority groups weren't hired much for a specific role.
The algorithm learns that pattern and then repeats it.
It can, yeah. It might unfairly rank perfectly qualified candidates from those groups lower just because it learned from biased historical patterns.
So this isn't just some abstract tech issue then. This can actually affect you, listening right now.
Absolutely. When you apply for a job or a loan or even interact with healthcare systems using these tools, biased outputs could genuinely limit your opportunities.
Just because the system learned from unfair history? Wow.
Yeah. So being treated fairly is key. And understanding this potential bias is the first step.
Okay, so awareness is step one. But what else? What can actually be done about it?
Well, like you said, awareness is huge. Just knowing this can happen helps you spot potential issues.
Right.
But beyond that, the companies and organizations building and using these algorithms, they have a big responsibility here.
To do what exactly?
A major part is improving the data. Actively looking for more diverse, more representative data to train these systems. Trying to, correct for past imbalances, not just bake them in again.
So better ingredients for the recipe, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And it's not just the input. It's also about testing the output rigorously before it gets rolled out.
Like checking your homework.
Exactly like checking your homework. You need to test if the algorithm performs fairly across different groups. Look for differences in outcomes, like who gets approved for loans, who gets flagged for review, who gets job offers. Catch the bias before it does damage.
Okay, that makes sense. Data checks, output tests. What about for us, for the listener? Is there anything we can do?
Yes, definitely. Understanding this stuff means you can ask better questions. If a decision made by a system feels off or unfair,
you can push back. Ask how they reached that conclusion.
You can. Your voice matters. Asking questions, staying informed, it creates pressure for more transparency, for systems that are actually equitable.
Right. So these algorithms, they're tools, powerful ones, designed to help us.
But like any tool, they need to be built and used correctly. They need to be, made right, like you said earlier, with fairness considered from the start.
Okay. So algorithms are everywhere, shipping so much. Maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
If these algorithms are like the hidden recipes affecting everything from movie suggestions to major life opportunities, how often do we actually stop and question what's in that recipe? And what part can we play in making sure those recipes work fairly for everyone?